So, hi folks, welcome to the demo of Tanzu Kubernetes Grid running on VMC. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the deployment of Tanzu Kubernetes Grid onto VMC. And what I did to make our lives easier, I made a little script so I don't need to type alongside while I'm telling you stuff. So let's kick that off. You're seeing that I'm logged onto the VMC console here, and you're seeing that, actually I'm logged into vSphere as well, so our SDDC is deployed. There's a separate network for TKG deployed, which we're going to use, and I downloaded the installed bits and moved the TKG CLI to my binary folder. And what I can say now is like, okay, TKG in it. And what we said, like, we're really simplifying that. So it's not necessary that you are familiar with command line tools. You're editing a lot of stuff. So folks which actually are familiar with cluster API, they know that, this is really a thing where I have to have a lot of config files and a lot of stuff to be, correctly set on the right folders. And the nice thing is here, we're really simplifying that, so we don't need to do a lot of stuff here and just use the handy commands of the command line. So I just kicked off the installer, and what you want to do is actually to deploy that onto vSphere, and I can actually enter the vCenter server here. It tells me, okay, so you're using a vCenter 7, and I can select my stuff. I can enter public key, and I need to specify a few more things like the control plane settings, like resources, like the network, and the images actually, which I'm going to use for my Tanzu Kubernetes Grid clusters. Of course, I need to enter all that stuff, and it takes some time. So what I did, and the favor is do not keep you till like 7 here. So I actually, already deployed one management cluster onto vSphere, and I'm now just terminating the kickstart URL, and I want to have a look at actually the clusters which are provisioned. And you can see that, there are already from our management cluster 3 clusters provisioned. So if I'm going back just to my vSphere environment here, and if I'm logging on here, then I will see that my machines are deployed in the corresponding folder. So the control plane machines, first of all, of the management cluster, like we can see it here, as well as the corresponding machines for the workload cluster, which are deployed here, like AWS, like Tech Summit with the number, so on and so forth. So we said that we're using a declarative approach here of Kubernetes management, and that's really nice. So what I'm doing now is I'm switching the context for the kubectl to the management context. And in the management cluster, we are having a customer source definition of a cluster. And the nice thing is, like you can see here, so when I run TKG CLI, it gives me the same, like if I run get clusters from the management cluster. The nice thing is as well, I can see the actual machines. So that means the machines we're seeing here, you can see them here. So these are actually Kubernetes objects which have been provisioned by Kubernetes to vSphere. So what we're going to do now is, like, we're switching our context to a workload cluster, to the Tech Summit workload cluster, because we want to deploy an application here. What we want to do is just having a look at the nodes, and I can see that, there are 2 nodes actually deployed, one master node and one worker node, because I selected a development plan for this deployment. And I can actually now have a look at a storage class, because I'm going to deploy an application which requires persistent storage. I can have like a storage policy, which is defined in vSAN here. That's a nice thing that really maps, and I can see the data store URL here. So the data store URL, and that's quite important, especially for VMC, because you know that we cannot deploy to the vSAN data store or to a random data store, but we need to use for the permission model, the cloud admin which I'm using here, this data store with this data store URL. Yeah, and the cool thing is I can now apply this configuration, and now in Kubernetes, this storage class has been created already. So the next thing I want to do is just saying like, okay, we want to have an application deployed. In my case, this is Rocket Chat. Rocket Chat is a yeah, it's like a Slack application which you can use. And yeah, the interesting thing you immediately see now, I kick the deployment off via Helm. So Helm is a packet manager for Kubernetes, and you can easily deploy applications with dependencies. So what you see now is that actually, yeah, there were some stuff already attached into vSphere, and that means we already created a disk with that deployment, obviously. So if I have a look at the deployment, I see that, okay, it's not full ready because, yeah, it's just been kicked off 28 seconds ago and started. But what I can see as well, that our persistent volume, which is required by the database of Rocket Chat, is already created. And if I'm switching here to my workload data store and to the container volumes and filtering for the volume name, then I will say that, oh yeah, nice. So this is the actual container volume, which was provisioned leveraging the Cloud Native Storage API, which is there from 6.7 update 3 upwards, and of course into vSphere 7. The nice thing is like, yeah, we can here work with labels, and you can see that, oh, this volume was actually labeled with application label, and yeah, a release label. So that's quite handy and nice if you're going to troubleshoot, if you're going to find the attachments later on to Kubernetes. So we want to have a look as well at the services. Yeah, and the services, as you can see, so we have a MongoDB service, which is an internal service provision, and we have an external IP here. The external IP, yeah, is the external IP for our Kubernetes application. And if you have a look here, it will, yeah, give me the setup wizard, because yeah, this is the first time we deploy this application here, so it just gives me the setup wizard, and I don't want to go and run down this the wizard now, but actually to show you that this is an application which was deployed, I opened this web page. So the last thing I want to do, because I made this like a repeatable demonstration, is like I'm cleaning up the stuff which we created. So I'm cleaning up the storage class, I'm cleaning up the persistent volume, which we will as well see in here then, yeah, that this will be deleted. So it will be detached, yeah, and it will be deleted. So, and if I'm going back then, yeah, what we want to do further. So further, I want to show you like the same application deployed just into another cluster, the AWS cluster. So this is like the same, the Rocket Chat application, which was deployed here to a load balancer URL. And so if I'm going to this, yeah, I will see that the application is up and running here. And further, just remember that IP. What I did was going back here, saying like, okay, how can we make this available? And we just chose to do the standard way, how to make this available to the outside for people to have a chat about Tech Summit maybe. Yeah, we got Slack, but probably you want to use the Rocket Chat as well. So we NATed HTTP traffic here to the internal IP, which is the .4 you're saying. And if you now go to chat.alexdesk.cloud, yeah, you will actually see that you can chat here. So if you're not authenticated, the password is very secure password we're using all the time in VMware, and username is VMware, all small, or you can register like you want. So yeah, to get an idea, how is our application like exposed now via the load balancer internally, and then we NATed this IP, so it made it available externally. So the next thing is like we're going to create a cluster, because that's very interesting as well. So let's say we want a new cluster for our developers, and we just give it a name. Yeah, I selected a plan here, and then I selected a Kubernetes version. I'm saying like it should be quiet, and I'm kicking this off. So this is actually quiet, so it will create the Kubernetes cluster now. And the last thing we're going to have a look at is like, okay, so you're seeing that the new Tech Summit cluster is in provisioning currently, And the last thing we can do is like, yeah, we can scale on existing clusters as well. So that means TKG really takes care about life cycling all your clusters as well. So we can scale up the cluster which is already there, for example, the Taxami cluster. So yeah, that concludes the demo. Yeah, I will make this demo available on GitHub, so for everybody to show it off, and we will have a really easy way for you and for your like VMC environments to deploy this. Thank you.